This isn't something hidden. It's something familiar, so familiar that most readers pass right over it. Across different biblical passages, the same structure quietly appears. Not announced, not emphasized, simply present. Some details don't demand attention, they wait for it. And when meaning is woven into structure, it often reveals itself slowly. The human mind is trained to look for the obvious, the loud, the signposted event. We scan for names, places, and actions. We follow the plot, the overt moral, the direct command. It's an efficient way to process information, but it can also filter out the subtle architecture that holds the narrative together. Think of it like walking through a grand cathedral. Your eyes are drawn to the stained glass windows, the ornate altar, the soaring ceilings. You might not immediately notice the repeating geometric patterns in the floor tiles, or the way the pillars are arranged to create a sense of rhythm and order. Yet, these structural elements are fundamental. They shape the experience, guide your movement, and contribute to the overall feeling of awe and reverence, even if you don't consciously register them. Similarly, in literature, especially ancient literature, structure wasn't just a container for the story. It was part of the story itself. Biblical texts emerged in a world where patterns, repetition, and structure carried meaning. Scholars have long noted how form itself can communicate intention. In oral cultures before widespread literacy, patterns were essential memory aids. Symmetrical structures, refrains, and repeated phrases made vast amounts of information easier to remember, recite, and pass down accurately through generations. But it went deeper than mere memorization. These patterns were also a sophisticated literary device. The arrangement of ideas could highlight a central theme, create a contrast between two concepts, or build a narrative to a powerful climax. A story might begin and end with the same idea, forming a frame that gives special importance to everything within it. This is a technique scholars call inclusio. Another common structure is a chiasm, where a sequence of ideas is presented and then repeated in reverse order, like a BCBA. The central element, C, becomes the focal point, the main idea the author wants to emphasize. Recognizing these forms is like learning to read the blueprint of the text. It reveals a layer of deliberate craftsmanship and authorial intent that a surface reading might miss. It shows us that the writers weren't just transcribing events. They were carefully shaping narratives to convey theological weight and meaning. Some readers see literary design, others see theological emphasis, and some see a teaching method that unfolds gradually. There isn't a single, universally accepted reason for these repeating patterns, and that's part of their enduring power. For those who approach the text from a literary perspective, these structures are evidence of high artistry. They admire the elegant construction and the subtle ways that form enhances content, much like one would appreciate the sonnet form in poetry or the three-act structure in a play. For others, with a theological focus, the patterns are divinely inspired signposts. They might see a recurring 7-part structure, for instance, and connect it to the theme of divine completion and perfection seen in the creation account. From this viewpoint, the structure isn't just aesthetic. It's a carrier of profound spiritual truth, a fingerprint of the divine author. Then there's the perspective that views these patterns as an educational tool. A teaching that's built into a recurring structure isn't learned all at once. It's absorbed over time through repeated exposure. Each time a reader encounters the pattern, their understanding deepens. It's a method that rewards patience and slow, contemplative reading, inviting the reader into a lifelong journey of discovery rather than just presenting a list of facts to be memorized. What matters most is not agreement, but attention. The goal isn't to force every reader into a single interpretive box or to claim one perspective is superior to another. The real value lies in the act of noticing. It's about shifting from a passive consumption of the text to an active engagement with it. When we start paying attention to these structural details, the text opens up in new ways and invites questions. Why is this story arranged in this particular way? What is being emphasized by its placement at the center of a chiasm? What is the effect of this repeated phrase? This posture of inquiry changes our relationship with the scripture. It becomes less of a static document and more of a dynamic, multi-layered work that continues to reveal new facets over time. This kind of attention fosters humility as we realize how much can lie beneath the surface, and it cultivates a sense of wonder at the depth and complexity of these ancient writings. The focus moves from having the right answer to asking better questions. When patterns repeat across texts and generations, they invite reflection rather than conclusions. Think about the ways certain numbers, like 3, 7, or 40, appear and reappear in vastly different contexts throughout the biblical narrative. Or consider the theme of Exodus of being called out of bondage and into a new land of promise, which echoes from Genesis to Revelation. These aren't isolated incidents. They are threads woven into a grand, overarching tapestry. Each new occurrence of the pattern enriches the meaning of all the others. The 40 days of the flood resonate with the 40 years in the wilderness and the 40 days of Jesus' temptation. They become interconnected, forming a web of meaning that spans the entire canon. Encountering these recurring motifs is like meeting an old friend in a new city. There is a sense of familiarity, but the new context sheds new light on their character. These patterns create a dialogue within the text itself, where one passage illuminates another. They encourage us to read the Bible not as a collection of separate books, but as a unified library with a coherent, developing message. They prompt us to meditate on the enduring themes of faith, redemption, and humanity's relationship with the divine, themes that have resonated with countless readers for millennia. If you appreciate thoughtful exploration of Scripture, consider subscribing to continue these reflections. Our journey is not about finding definitive, final answers that end the conversation. It's about cultivating a deeper appreciation for the text's richness and complexity. It's about learning to read with more observant eyes and a more inquisitive heart. By looking closely at the craft of these ancient writings, we honor the intention behind them and open ourselves up to new avenues of understanding. Each video on this channel is an invitation to pause, to look closer, and to marvel at the layers of meaning that have been preserved for us across the centuries. We aim to explore the historical context, the literary artistry, and the enduring spiritual questions that these texts raise, always with a spirit of respect and curiosity. Subscribing is more than just a click. It's just a way of joining a community of thoughtful readers who believe that the most profound truths are often discovered not in haste, but in patient, careful contemplation. We hope you'll join us. What details have you noticed only after slowing down? Perhaps it was a word that suddenly stood out after you read a passage a dozen times. Or a connection between two seemingly unrelated stories that clicked into place during a moment of quiet thought. Maybe it was a structural pattern, like the ones we've discussed, that revealed an emphasis you had never seen before. These moments of discovery are personal and powerful. They remind us that this is a living text, one that continues to speak to those who are willing to listen carefully. The noise of modern life encourages speed and efficiency, but some things only yield their treasures to those who are willing to be slow, to be patient, and to pay attention. The most meaningful insights are rarely found on the surface. They await us in the quiet spaces, in the second and third readings, in the moments we allow the words to settle and resonate. We invite you to share your own experiences of discovery. What has the act of slowing down revealed to you?